Hi, everyone, and welcome to this workshop on building your first AI agent with the ADK. This workshop is going to be more of an introduction to a potential 8-week long series of, meeting every Saturday pretty much at this time if there's enough interest. So we'll be building this small agent known as a day trip genie. Pretty much takes as input your interest in touring a specific location, and then builds out an itinerary. And then we'll check out a few of the features offered by the ADK and what ADK is along the way. So to get started, this is the overall agenda about things that we'll be covering today. First is just go over what the ADK is in plain simple terms. And then we'll talk about a few of the core building blocks of this framework. And then we'll look at the overall design of this basic agent, and then go through the code lab that we mentioned on the event description. And then we'll have some time for Q&A and next steps. So important note, if you are already aware of the ADK, this event might not be for you, but it would still be probably a fun follow-along activity to kind of just refresh your memory on things if you've not well, it's a relatively new framework, so maybe it's all still fresh, but it would be a good exercise. So the ADK is a framework developed by Google to make developing your AI agents feel a lot more like software development. So they try to make things very familiar to you if you have done software engineering in the past. Let me just play the video of the Google team explaining what they have built, what they mean by the ADK. Let's see if I can share this tab instead. Actually, I might need to share my screen here with audio sharing enabled. All right. Let's see if this works.
Hey, agent, can you help me plan my trip to San Francisco?
Okay, I can help with that. What's your budget for this trip?
Okay, let me pause it there and tell you that I just interacted with a multimodal multi-agent application authored in under 100 lines of code with a new agent development kit. Let's get into it. Hi, I'm Anand Iyer, a product manager here at Google Cloud, and I'm really excited to share something new with you today. We talk to a lot of AI developers and hear consistently that building sophisticated agents, particularly multi-agent or multimodal ones, is often way more complex and time-consuming than it should be. We felt that friction firsthand building agents internally for our customers. And that's exactly why today we're thrilled to release a brand new open source project, the Agent Development Kit, or ADK for short. It is built directly from Google's experience creating production-grade agents. Our goal with ADK is simple: to give developers a powerful open foundation for building complex, production-ready AI agents intuitively and with greater control. To us, a truly open foundation means it is model agnostic, it's deployment agnostic, and built for interoperability. So starting with model agnostic. Look, we obviously love our Gemini models, and especially the latest Gemini 2.5 Pro model, which has amazing reasoning capabilities. But with ADK, you can choose any model you want to use, whether it's a model from Google or anywhere else. ADK is also deployment agnostic. It can run locally wherever you do development, or on Google Cloud, or wherever your infra happens to live. It is also built for interoperability, so you can easily integrate your agents with your existing tools and services, or even integrate with agents that you may have built on other frameworks. Now, Bo, you led the engineering effort here. Why don't you share some of the design thinking behind ADK?
Sure. Thanks, Anand. Hi, I'm Bo Yang, tech lead for Agent Development Kit. One of our core principles behind this framework was to make agent development feel like software development. We deliberately built ADK using familiar software engineering patterns, just like regular classes or functions.
Can I just say thank you? Seriously, Bo. As a developer that wants to build agentic application for production, that's just great to hear.
Of course, also, looking ahead, we saw huge potential for agents that interact naturally, agents that can hear, can see, can respond in real time. That's why native bidirectional audio and video streaming is fundamental, and it's baked into the core SDK. This unlocks the ability to create truly interactive and real-time agent experiences. Another common friction that we often hear is that it is require a lot of setup to just test and debug the agent locally. Developers wanted to iterate quickly without spinning up a ton of complex dependencies. So we included a UI playground right in SDK. Now, with a single command, ADK web, you can launch a UI on your laptop to test, visualize, and debug your agent. By the way, you can be up and running in seconds, focusing purely on your agent's technology. Agent Development Kit is available today as a Python SDK with more languages like Java coming soon. With this ADK, you can build sophisticated multi-agent applications in just under 100 lines of code. Okay, Ivan, do you want to show us a demo?
Absolutely. So let's do this. So Anand and Bo talked about simplifying complexity. So let's build a trip planner agent super quickly. It's a multi-agent setup. We will have a main trip planner agent orchestrating two sub-agents, an idea agent to brainstorm a fun trip destination, and a refine agent to check if those idea fits with a given budget. Okay, so let's dive into the code. Here, I have my two agent definitions, and it's just standard ADK agent classes. So we give them an LLM, some instructions, and more importantly, clear description so the parent agent understand their capabilities. So now we have our definition. They look good. They're super concise. So let's run it locally. Like Bo mentioned, it's just one command in the terminal, ADK web. So let's try it. And boom. Okay, our local dev UI is now ready. So let's give our planner agent a task. Hello, suggest a fun weekend trip from San Francisco under $200. Let's say, well, it's a tricky question.
It's
Let's see. Yeah, it's gonna be a challenge. Let's see. And there we go. We got a response. So now we have our agent working.
And if you're a developer, you want to know what's happening under the hood. The Event tab shows the agent's workflow and how it decided to use the sub-agent. Here you can see that the parent agent delegated to gather ideas and do a budget check. The Request and Response tab give us the step-by-step trace, so you know what data goes where.
Yes, that's super useful. Like having this tab that allows me to know what the action agent takes, what kind of function calls he had. It's very useful, and it's actually essential for debugging, especially with multi-agents when you have multi-agents interacting between each other. So having this level of visibility locally is just fantastic. So now, Bo also mentioned that we have these features called native bidirectional audio and video streaming, which essentially means that agent can hear and see your input. It's built in, no extra libraries needed for the basic setup. So let's try the audio. Anand, why don't you ask a question?
Absolutely. Yeah, let's take it for a spin. Can you suggest an itinerary for 2 days in Seattle?
I can definitely help you plan a 2-day trip to Seattle. What kind of activities do you enjoy?
Yeah, what's impressive about this is how quickly you spun up this multi-agent application to have a live audio conversation. And I don't think you had to write any special code to get all this audio streaming working.
No, that's right. ADK handles all the underlying streaming mechanism for me behind the scene. And as a developer, this speed up massively my development. It let me just focus on the agent logic, which in this case is planning the trip. And the core agent definition is still only 30 line of codes for those 3 agents combined. We define them, we spin up the debug UI, and we had a live audio conversation all running locally.
And that's just a glimpse of what's possible. With Agent Development Kit, you have the simplicity, control, flexibility, and that multimodal streaming capability native to the SDK.
And what we've built with Agent Development Kit goes beyond just an SDK. It's a robust open foundation built directly on Google's production experience. We're investing in the ecosystem to empower developers like you to build complex, powerful agentic solutions.
So if you want to dive in, we got the links right below in the description. And check out the ADK documentation for guides and concepts. Or if you're just like me and you prefer to jump straight into the code, head over to the GitHub repo. We included plenty of sample agents there to help you to get started with it.
Great. Thank you for tuning in. And we're excited to see what you'll build with the Agent Development Kit.
All right. So hopefully that gave you a decent introduction to what the ADK is and what it can do for you. Going back to these slides for a bit. So our goal for today is not to explore there's a lot of things to explore in the ADK world. We'll focus on the core concepts and just build a simple agent to begin with. And to do that, there are a few fundamental concepts that you need to be aware of to get started. The first one being what it means to be an agent in the ADK ecosystem. So an agent in ADK is a self-contained execution unit that acts by itself toward a goal. So it takes its own decisions and it emits events. And to create an agent, all you need is a set of instructions, a model, a set of tools, and optionally some decision logic. Google's ADK offers a lot of different ways, a lot of different implementations of this agent concept, but we'll be focusing mostly on what's known as an LLM agent, which is just an agent that's a combination of instructions, model, and tools. The next concept is that of the session, and it's pretty much just a message store of sorts. So you need something to store the state of your agent, and the session class represents that. And then you need something to coordinate and make calls to your agent as well as your session. And the runner is the abstraction that they have to let you, wire together these agents and your session. And then you can pass in user input, and the runner is going to take that, pull the state from your session if there's any messages, and then send them to the agent to do the work and get back. As the events pipe back from the agent, you get those events. You can consume them and take actions on the user interface, for example. And so this is what we are going to be building using these simple concepts today. It's a agent known as the Day Trip Genie. And you can see we have a sequence diagram here that shows a user, a runner, a session, and an agent, as well as a tool. So going back to the agent concept, it's a set of instructions, a model, set of tools, and optionally decision logic. The LLM is one of the things that takes place of your decision logic. You can make agents that are deterministic, so they don't use any AI model, but the main use case is going to be using LLMs to understand the user's ask and take appropriate action. So here we are going to ask send a simple query to the runner, and then it's going to pull the session and append a message, a user message to the session, and then run the agent with that session. The agent takes a decision. In this case, we've given the agent a single tool, and it opts to invoke the tool, and the runner is actually orchestrating, facilitating all of this. And then it emits an event which you can listen in on and take actions on. And then any action, any event gets appended to the session state, and you get back a final response. And this is the first agent that we'll build. And the code for that is in this Google Colab. It's actually two different terms here. There's a code lab, which links to a Colab notebook. So Google Colab is, if you're not familiar with it, it's a platform that Google has that lets you write code and run it all on the cloud. And it's super convenient for testing out these small prototypes like this ADK agent that we're about to build. But in order to be able to follow along with this exercise, you would want to, let me paste this link in the chat. And so once you open this link, and I'll share my screen as I do that, it's pretty much Google has several code labs, some contributed by external folks, some by Googlers. But Code Labs is a really nice platform where you can find a lot of different recipes for doing different things or getting started with frameworks or technologies that Google offers. And we'll be following the first few sessions of this code lab, and that should take you through these steps you need to build this agent today. And once you are on this site, there's a link that says Colab 1, Tools and Memory. You'd want to click that, and that should open a Google Colab session for you. However, this will be a Colab notebook. And this is, by the way, what this Google Colab interface looks like. It's just a notebook with plain text and code that you can just run by clicking this play button here. Before you do that, you would want to click copy to drive and then select a destination and place it somewhere on your Google Drive account. You will need a Google account to follow all of this. Let me see if I can use, because I've already cloned this Colab once. Let me see if I can switch to a separate account and show things in a fresh way. All right, let me stop sharing. sharing my screen, and then see if I can share. All right. Okay. Let me actually just link this Colab notebook in the chat. So this is the Colab notebook, which has the code that you'll be following today. And the notebook has a link to all of the steps and instructions that you'll need to follow to get a free API key. You don't need a credit card for this. You will have to sign up for Google Cloud, and then they should have instructions here to claim a billing account, which just adds a billing account to your Google Cloud setup if you already have Google Cloud, or if you're already onboarded to it and have a billing account. Don't worry about it. It's just going to add a separate billing account. It's not going to disturb your existing one. So you would just click here, and that should take you to a link. And once you sign in, let's see if I can sign in here. Okay, so that just gave me credit, right? This is the GDG Chapel Hill email account, Gmail account. And yeah, they just gave me this crash course credit that's going to be valid for 180 days. And once you have this, you just click this button, and that should take you to Google Cloud. All right, so this account doesn't have multi-factor authentication. I'll have to turn that on. Let's see if this changes anything. All right. So if you have multi-factor authentication turned off, you would need to turn it on. And so I see some questions on what link was clicked to enable to get the $5 credit. You just need to open the notebook, and there's a link over here, and you just click on that. It should take you to this second page of the code lab, and that has this link that says billing account, and that creates a $5 billing account. It should take you here and should require you to sign in, and then once you're signed in, it just shows this. So I'm seeing some questions around certain email addresses not working. It's possible if the organization that the Gmail account is a part of has disabled certain OAuth grants. So yeah, cs.unc.edu Gmail account might not work. And I'm seeing a question that says, it says 180 days after activation. Can it be activated anytime? It should be active already. Once you choose a billing account, after creating a project, you just you just start using those credits automatically. So if I go here and create a project. Let's see. Let me just call it ADK example 1, and that's my project. Let me go create that. Once you create a project, and it's just a simple click of a button to create a new project in GCP, you'll see that it auto selects the one and only billing account, the trial billing account you might have. And if you are a GCP, Google Cloud Platform veteran, then you would already know your way around the platform. So you just need to create a new project and then use the correct billing account, and its name should appear like this. It should just say Google Cloud Platform Trial Billing Account. All right. So KP, even if you use or even if you sign up today, if you don't follow along and use any credits today, then those $5 are just going to be with you for the next 180 days. So it's your choice if you want to fill out the form or just sign up for the credits today, or a few weeks later when you're ready for it. I'm seeing a question from Matthew. When I click to access credits, I'm taken to the GCP application form. Yes, so if you don't, I think if you haven't signed up on GCP, you will be taken through a sequence of steps, like a wizard, that would get you signed up to GCP. And once you are signed up, and all of this is just so we can use the Gemini API with these $5. So I'm gonna wait for, let's see, I'm gonna set a timer for about 5 minutes. Okay, I'm seeing a message. Someone just joined. So there's no form here. There's a collab. Let me paste the link to the collab again. So this is the collab, and you'd want to copy to Drive. You'd want to copy this collab to your own drive before starting to use it. And once you are in this collab, you're gonna see a link here that should take you to the instructions, and it's the entire manual pretty much for constructing this project and subsequent ones. You can see it's got about 8 sessions, and we are probably gonna get through session 1, maybe session 2 today. You'll see. So there's a question from Dorothy. Dorothy has set up a $5 account without issue. So a typical project, there's really no bound to which you can rack up cloud charges, but this billing account is restricted to $5. So even if you do something that you're not supposed to, you will just run into it's just Google Cloud is just not gonna do what you want after you spend those $5, because the billing account is exhausted. And since you provided no credit card, there's no other charge that you should expect to get.
So it runs out at $5, but can you typically get through a project? I mean, will you run through hundreds of dollars or
so it really depends. It really depends on the breadth and the size of your project. So you can do a lot of things with the Google Cloud Platform. It is massive. And using AI models on Google Cloud Platform is just a drop in the bucket of what it can do for you. So you can like spin up thousands of servers. You can really go crazy with GCP. But we are just going to be using a single model. I believe it's Gemini 2.5 Flash. And that's all we'll be using from this billing account.
Got it. Thank you.
So I see a question about a free trial. I'm not sure if you should be seeing that. If you go through this claim your billing account link, it should just take you to this ADK crash course claim page. And once you click on it, it just gives you access to these credits. And then if you don't have a GCP account, you just have to sign up and create an organization. And then you just get, you just need to create a project and make sure you select the correct billing account for the project that you are on. And that's pretty much all you need in terms of the setup on GCP here. Let's see if I can find where my projects are. They should be showing up. Looks like they changed up the interface a bit. Oh, okay. There you go. All right, so I've selected the correct project. And this page, by the way, should also have all the instructions on how to get your project created. And once you have that created, you need to navigate to yet another platform from Google, which is able to access your Google Cloud Platform billing account. So once you're here, I'm going to wait for, let's see, 3 or 4 more minutes, and then we'll move on to the next step, which is going to Google AI Studio and then creating an API key. And that's what we'll be dumping into our Colab to get access to some of the Gemini models. All right. I hope folks are ready for the next step. And this one's pretty straightforward. So I've never onboarded to AI Studio with this Google account. Let's see how they've changed the onboarding. It looks like it was pretty straightforward. It just dumps you into this playground, but we need an API key. So Niche, yes, this session is indeed recorded. KP, we are on step 2, sub step 3 of this code lab. Let me share that link in the chat. All right, so once you are on AI Studio, and the link to that is in these steps. So you just click on this link here, and that should take you to AI Studio. And what you want to do next is click on Get API Key. Now, it looks like I've set up this account before. I'm just gonna delete this existing API key and import this other project that I just created named ADK example 1, which was linked to the correct billing account. And then I can go create an API key. So I can say ADK testing API key. And to open this create a new key modal, all I did was I went to the top right of this interface after clicking get API key on the bottom left. And then that popped up this UI, and I just click create key, and it should give me a key that I can then copy. So don't share your keys with anyone else because that racks up charges. Of course, this is a toy account, so you would not be able to, do anything other than exhaust the $5 that you have, even if you leak this key of yours. But in practice, just make sure you never share your API keys. And once you have that API key, you can get back to your Colab notebook, which has all the code. And the Colab notebook is also linked in these instructions on the code labs. And that's right here on step 1, Colab 1, tools and memory. Once you have that, once you open that, you want to copy that to your Google Drive. And let me go ahead and do that in just a moment. All right. So all I did was click copy to drive, and that created that's the same notebook, but it's in my Google Drive. And once you're all here, once you have your API key created and your notebook copied to your own Google Drive, just send me a thumbs up or something. All right, so we've got folks who have caught up to perform the next step now. So what you now need to do is use, well, you can just dump your secret directly by running this code. It's going to ask you, it's actually a secured way of passing a secret, which will not show you my key as I paste it. Dom, I'm getting some echo from your mic. Would you have a question? Thank you. Okay, so once you're in this notebook, all you need to do is start running these steps. So in this, and these are called cells. If you're new to this interface, a notebook is pretty much, and this is a Python notebook. So it has this extension, IPYNB, and it stands for IPython notebook. And it's a very convenient way for writing out your prototypes or test code to just quickly build something in Python and try it out. And data scientists and scientists in general also use it to record their work, hence the name notebooks. So it has this information about this project, and then it takes you through the setup and authentication, and that's where we are at now. So you have the API key copied, and you ran the first cell by clicking this play button here. And that should load all of the libraries, and it should install all of the libraries that are needed. Now, this Python environment on Google Colab actually comes with a few libraries out of the box, and a few of the other ones, like the ADK, you got to install them. So that's what we are doing here. The bang operator, this exclamation mark, just instructs the read, execute, print loop of Python to run this, or actually of this notebook environment, to run this as a shell command. And that installs these dependencies onto your temporary environment. That's what it's doing over here in these logs. It's just printing out some warnings. Yeah, David, I see you have a hand raised.
Yeah, so you have the file on your drive, right? Not the one on the website.
Yeah, you want to copy this. So you want to take this, and then it should have a button that says copy to drive. And
Right.
that should just pop open a new tab for you. And it should have this name, like it just says copy of whatever the thing you copied was. So it should just do this for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right. So once these imports are done, you've imported a bunch of code from Google, from the ADK framework, and you're now ready to start using it. The first thing we'll do is store an API key in our memory. And that's done by just running this second cell. And here it gives you a nice little text box that should be, I believe, it should just obfuscate or just not show the actual key as I paste it. Yep, there we go. And then you just need to hit enter, and that saves the key into this variable named aptly API key. And then it just configures the GenAI library, and that is the library by Google. So you can see it's installing the ADK, and it's installing this other library or package that's called Google Generative AI, and that's the library that lets you connect to Google models on Google AI Studio. So you're just configuring it with the API key that you just created. And then you're ready to start building the first agent. So I'm going to wait again. Just mark a thumbs up on the message. So John, the API, it should just ask you for the API key in a small text box. You just need to paste the key into that text box, and then hit enter. And then it should print this API key configured successfully. I'll give 2 more minutes, and then let's move on to part 1.
Would you mind explaining the code in part 0 before we move forward?
Yeah, sure. So this is just importing a bunch of dependencies, bunch of code written by the ADK folks, and the GenAI library that lets you talk to Google models on Google AI Studio. So these, and then there's this display and markdown, these 2 imports. You'll see they're being used in the next few cells to just display the output text of these agents in a prettier way. So they typically use this notation known as the markdown notation. It's just like writing a notepad text file, but then decorating it with certain expressions. Like if you use an asterisk between, well, anything in between 2 asterisks gets bolded or actually italicized. And if you put anything between a pair of double asterisks, that gets bolded, and so on. So there's some just a formatting and pretty printing layer. And then getPass is this library that they used right here to just allow you to enter an API key in a secure manner. You don't want your API keys to be just floating around in your saved code files. You'd want to either pull them from a safe place, say in the cloud, or for this experiment, you can just enter it at runtime and then allow it to forget it as soon as the environment gets destroyed, which is, it typically happens after a few minutes of inactivity on Colab. It just wipes your session memory. It just frees up the RAM and CPU. You can actually see the resources, by the way, that you're using up. And you can see Google is very lenient with these resources. They give you about 12 gigs of RAM. Because this disk is, I think it's probably just your Google Drive, but maybe not, because I don't think I have any premium plan on this. And by default, Google just gives you 15 gigs of storage space. So it looks like they also attach a temporary disk for you, so you can really pull large things. For example, in your environment, if you're if you want to deal with large files, you can do so temporarily.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is tied to the free Google Drive account.
Yep, it's definitely not, because I have this one's a free 15 gig Google
Right.
Drive that I have got on this account, and it's showing me 107 gigs. So it's definitely a temporary drive. It's not
Right.
the Google Drive.
Right. And just another really quick question before we move on. Just curious, like all these steps we're going through in the Colab file, would these for production, would these translate into like a Python script that we have to just copy and paste them into, or how would this work?
For production, it would depend on how you are trying to serve your agents. So you could put these behind, say, a fast API wrapper, or you can just, there's a lot of different ways you can wrap your agents and ship them to production. The ADK documentation actually has, I think they have some nice tips around. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see. Yeah, they have this page around deploying your agents. It's pretty much up to you how you want to deploy it. They have a few easy to do steps, but then you subscribe and vendor lock into their ecosystem. You gotta then, you're then tied to that ecosystem, or you can just run it on Kubernetes. All you need is to package your code in a container and expose the right ports, and there, that it gets productionized.
Got it. Thank you. Would you mind sharing that link, by the way, if you don't mind?
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, looks like we should be ready to move on to part one. And this is where we get to the core of this session, which is about building this day trip Genie agent. All it does is, gets a few things from the user, their mood, interests, and budget, and then its job is to give out a nice itinerary that's nicely formatted, easy to read, and has time blocks, venues, and it is within the budget constraints that the user has provided. And it also has access to Google search, which is what it'll be using to do all of its research before getting back with the itinerary, right? If you were to write this same or try and create this same agent through just say the a Gen AI package which lets you access these large language models, you would have to do a lot of things to get to this point of being able to run an agent and have a conversation with it. But the ADK abstracts all of that complexity for you, and we'll see how in this next cell. So this first helper function creates an agent. Going back to the slides, let me see if I can open the slides here. All right. Let's see. Yep, there we go. So going back to the basics, the agent is the brain in this entire system. The agent is responsible for decision making. And the way you define one is by providing instructions, a model, a set of tools. And you can see that over here. You give it a name, then you provide a model, and then you give it some instructions. You can set a description, but it's user facing. So this is something that you would just put on here. If you have a bunch of different agents and you want to just figure out what this particular one does, you can come back and look at the description. But this is not something that gets passed to the AI model. The instruction is something that does get passed to the AI model along with the user's query. And Google also does a bit of, they do add a few more things to the context, but it depends on what the agent is doing. I myself am not very familiar with what other things it does before sending your request to the LLM, but your instruction and the user's query and any previous messages or interactions also get passed back to the agent as you grow the conversation. There's also these advanced things like compaction, where I saw a few threads of discussions on the open source ADK project. Those are in their infancy and are a little bit subject to change. But there is support for things like as the chat grows and grows, the model is at some point it's going to overrun the model's context window, which is the pretty much the input size that the model can accept, right? And so you want to then squish down the chat, condense it to a fewer number of messages or just fewer words or tokens before sending that context to the model. And that's called compaction. Those are some advanced features that ADK does have support for, but it's still in its infancy. But for what we are doing and for normal conversations that don't go over, like tens of messages, the current approach just works. So coming back to this agent definition, you're giving it a model, an instruction, and a set of tools. And here it just happens to be a set of a single tool, the Google search tool. And we also imported that from the ADK. So the ADK, not only does it come with these abstractions, but it also gives you a few handy tools, Google search being one of them. And so this agent is going to have this tool at its disposal. This is the instruction. So we are just instructing the model that you are a day trip generator, and this is your mission. And we're specifying the things that it should expect to get from the user. So, mood, interests, and budget. These are the three main things you need to instruct it for. And so you give it one line of context about who it is, give it a persona, and then give it a mission, and then a few guidelines, and then a rule at the bottom that says, I want this output in Markdown format with clear time blocks and specific venue names. So that kind of makes it understand what the user wants and in what format we want to present it to the user. Dorothy, Gemini 2.5 Flash is the model that this example is using. You could explore some other models that they have here on this playground. Let's see how to pick a model on this interface. All right, so if you go back to AI Studio, there's this button that says Gemini 3 Flash Preview. If you click on it, it just lets you scroll through several models and then try one out. And in the playground, you can there is a free tier. So if you just say hi or anything and try chatting with it, it's gonna respond. It's gonna actually invoke the model. You can try and play around with the model and see if that model is smart enough for what you are trying to do. David, I see your hand raised.
Can you go back to the code window? Yeah, in here, everything in red is going to be sent to the agent. Is that correct?
Yes, everything that I've just selected, highlighted, is gonna feed into the model. So the ADK is doing all of that heavy lifting for you. It figures out when it needs to inject this instruction into the AI model request payload, right? And then it also adds your user query, and we're going to cover that in the next step. But here we are just creating the agent and storing it in a variable.
And giving it instructions.
Yeah.
And mission. Okay. So it interprets mission and guidelines, right? Literally.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. And then this function right here is a helper. So what this function is going to do is it sets up a runner. Going back to the slides here, just to refresh your memory, the runner is what orchestrates everything. It's like the engine or the bedrock on which your agent or agents and your session, all live, and then the runner just is the coordinator that connects everything. So if you can see this sequence diagram, let me try and make it larger. Okay. So as you
Would
can
you mind
see,
linking to these slides?
I didn't quite get what you just said, KP.
Oh, sorry. Would you mind linking to the slides as well?
Oh yeah. Let me upload them once this session's over. I just have them on my machine.
Okay. Thank you.
And so where was I? Yeah. So this runner is the orchestrator for the session and the agent. And as soon as you ask something or you pass in a query, it's going to start working with the session object and the agent object that you've passed to the runner to do stuff. And you can see that happen over here. So this helper function accepts an agent, a query, that's the user's query, right? And so this helper function really, as documented over here conveniently, it just initializes this runner and then executes your query for the agent that you have defined. So in this Colab, in this notebook, there's a bunch more agents that we might not be able to cover today, but they will be reusing this same helper function. And so you'll see a few other optional parameters to this function, but the agent we are looking at today is not going to use them. So this, where was I? Yeah, we covered it accepts an agent, a query, a session, and a user ID. So this is a new thing. And this is also something that's really convenient with ADK, is that it bakes in support for the concept of a user. So when you run the runner, or when you ask the runner to run a new query against the agent, you have to pass in a user ID and a session ID, so that lets you track things by the user. So if you have multiple users, which most applications do, you can make use of this, and the sessions are divvied up by user, which lets you store things in an isolated and multi-tenant way for your users. And coming back to the session itself, here you can see we are spinning up a session service. So a session service is a helper, an object that you then use to mint new sessions, to create new sessions. And here we are just going to set a fixed user ID that we're just going to use throughout this entire experiment. We're almost at the end of part one. Wow. Right on time. So let's run this block, and it sets up a runner, and it then, this code block looks a little complex, but it's really super simple. So it runs the agent, and as the agent generates events, it catches them using this async for loop, and then processes them as the events come by, and stores the final response in this variable. It says final response, right? And then ultimately, once the agent query is executed, when this function finishes executing, it returns whatever's stored on the final response. If there's an error, it's gonna have this value in it. It's gonna say an error occurred, and then it's gonna have the details of the exception. So that's the setup for the helper that sets up the runner and then runs the agent. And you can see it's taking this query parameter, and then it's piping it, it's routing it into this new message value, and it needs a few objects constructed to do that. So it looks like you just can't pass a string directly in this new message field. You need to pass in something that's of type content. And so you do that, and then content needs parts, and then you just have a single part, which is a text part, and you pass the query string in the constructor of the part to get that value. And now you're ready to run the Daytrip Genie. And so this should reach out to Google, and you can try changing this. Since we are GDG Chapel Hill, let's make this Chapel Hill NC and see if it can come up with, let's see, tomorrow is Sunday, March 15. Let's see if it can, figure out how to make things affordable specifically for a weekend. All right, it's running it. And all this function is doing is it's creating a session using the session service that we just created in the cell above. And it passes the user ID that you also defined in the cell above, and then runs this query against the agent using that helper that we just wrote in the cell above. All right, and then let's see if this makes any sense. Okay, it is definitely pulling real places. Yep, all of these street names are familiar. Yep, checks out. Looks like a good plan. Yep. So that's a success. We have this agent working and doing what it's supposed to, and working to get us this nice itinerary. So that was the end of this first part, just a big overview to bring it all together. Again, just look at this diagram. We just sent in a query to the runner. It orchestrated the session and the agent. The session is pretty much a storage place for all the events and all the messages that are being sent to and coming back from the agent. And then the runner, the helper function that we had, listens for the final output and then just prints it out for us in a nice fashion. All right. So now I'll head back to the chat for any questions. So there's a variable is a router. What is the router? For more use cases in part 2 and onwards, the same run agent query can be used as part of agents that are being invoked by say a main agent. So scrolling down, there's an example that they have where they have a concierge agent that can invoke a food critic agent. And in those scenarios, you might not want the food critic agent events to get bubbled up and printed or returned. So you don't want to, you don't want to print those, and hence why you just detect if it is not a router, only then print the event, otherwise don't. So here you can see it's actually printing it because we didn't pass is router set to true. All right. So we have 5 minutes to the stop time. And here are these 2 QR codes that you can use to fill out the feedback form and let us know if you would like to see a sequel of this event, and go look at the rest of this notebook and the other one and just go through all of these 8 sessions together. And the other one being our Discord. If you want to stay connected with folks, hop onto our Discord. And the recording will be posted on our YouTube channel. It is just GDG Chapel Hill on YouTube. And I'll see if I can get a Google Drive link of the slides posted on the event page. Hopefully the event page should let me do that.
I'm sorry, just a really quick question. Did we only do part 1 today?
Yes, that's right. We just completed session 1.